Jay here, Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live. We're in the studio. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. As you would expect, all the news is focusing on Ruben Amorim, on his future, what is going to happen with the Manchester United manager. Is he going to keep his job? Have INEOS given up with him? Are they backing him? Who could succeed him if indeed he does lose his job? We're going to be getting into all that because that is what all the newspapers basically are talking about. It's what Sky Sports are talking about. It's what every other TV station who covers Manchester United or covers football is talking about. It's just the main topic of conversation, as you would expect from a manager who is under as much pressure as Ruben Amorim. It's no surprise, is it, that a manager who just keeps losing football matches is now finding himself under intense scrutiny and pressure at Manchester United. Good to see the usual suspects in the chat. Matic, there you go. Motti in his house. Andy G, Mick Hollahorn, BMW Racing 1974, Tobias Nelson, Wayne Davis, thank you. Make sure you're all hitting that like button, please, people. Right, let's talk about Ruben Amorim and let's get into it. So Ben Jacobs has been on the channel. He spoke to TalkSport. I think he spoke to our mate Angelina Kelly, and he said that spoke about Enzo Maresca, who no one cares about. And he also said, United are succession planning despite wanting it to work with Amorim. So the sort of the surprise thing there, or the big thing there, would be the fact that United are looking at life after Amorim, sort of saying, okay, we want to make it work, we're backing him, but according to Ben Jacobs, United are looking at other options, which you would expect, because sooner or later this is going to get completely untenable. And I mean, it might almost be there already, but if you lose to Sunderland, and I know I've sort of repeated myself, but it's true, so nothing's changed. If you lose to Sunderland and lose badly at Anfield, do you still have a job as Manchester United manager? I just can't see it happening. I can't. I think the Sunderland game, I say this almost every week, I think the Sunderland game is pivotal. I think if you lose that, you're in all sorts of trouble. I think you lose the Sunderland game, the only way you keep your job is if they don't sack you straight away and by a miracle you get a result at Anfield, then maybe you go, okay, I've just won at Anfield, like, come on. But I just don't see that happening, and I'm so worried about that game against Liverpool. I think that could be a right siding. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Do you think Ruben Amorim is safe? Do you think he should be safe? We'll get into some of the candidates that have been linked with the United job. We were speaking about this on the Paddock podcast yesterday. Myself, Ronaldo Brown and Joe Smith having a little bit of a debate over Ruben Amorim's future. I mean, look, I don't like sitting here and going on about the manager leaving or the manager getting sacked, but we have to be honest. This is where we're at, and we're there for a reason. Yet again, Manchester United are struggling in the league. We're out of the Carabao Cup. We've only got the FA Cup. Realistically, we can win. I mean, it's not good enough, is it? It's not good enough, and you can blame lots of people. It's not just on the manager. You can look at INEOS. You can always look at the Glazers, because since they took over in 2005, they've been nothing but detrimental to Manchester United. And you can look at those above Ruben Amorim and those below him. You can look at the players as well. The players have to take some responsibility for some of the performances we are seeing, because it isn't good enough. However, we know that if something is going to change, a big change is going to happen, the most likely thing to change is the manager. We know that happens time and time again at Manchester United post Alex Ferguson, and it looks like it's on the verge of happening again. People in the chat, JB says, morning Jay, what's happening? I'll tell you what's happening. Lots of speculation about Ruben Amorim's future. Harry on the boat says, play Cobb in midfield and Bruno in 10, or lose your job, Ruben. Martin Laster says, buck stops with the manager. Kevin, or Kev McGee, says his stubbornness is costing him his job, unfortunately. Harry on the boat says, I've supported him through and through, but he needs to change something. Like, there could be a change that he makes that saves his job. I think if he actually went, look, I've tried this as long as I can and as much as I can. It ain't working. We are going to have to switch. I think people would understand that. People would say, look, he did give it a go. He gave a go this formation and this system that he knew, or that he'd had success with at Sporting, and now it is time to change. Akash K says, if Amorim is getting sacked, then my question to you, Jay, is do we look at Barada and Wilcox as well? I think Jason Wilcox will be under pressure, and maybe even Oman Barada as well. I think you're right. If Amorim gets sacked, because let's have it right, it was obvious that Amorim was favoured by Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada, and it was obvious that Dan Ashworth didn't like didn't like Ruben Amorim as next United manager. That was widely reported, right? Widely reported that Dan Ashworth favoured someone with Premier League experience, and they got rid of Dan Ashworth. They didn't listen to him. They got rid of him. It wasn't just that, but that was a big part of it. So this is definitely a Wilcox and Barada appointment. Those two are sort of tied to Ruben Amorim. Now, if Ruben Amorim gets sacked, does that mean they lose the job? Probably not. I think it's a big sort of call to get rid of your manager and your director of football, whatever Jason Wilcox's title is, and your CEO as well. That's a lot, isn't it? That is like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as they used to say. However, the next managerial appointment has to be successful, because if he isn't, then you are going to look at those above him. You're going to go, look, you've appointed 2 managers and you've got them both wrong. That ain't good enough. I think they've got one more chance in it to get it right, but they have to get it right. Let's talk about Cesc Fabregas. This is a 4-4-2. I used to read 4-4-2 quite a lot. I've not read it for years. I was in it once. Manchester United report. Como manager Cesc Fabregas reaches agreement for strategic move. Far too many sort of inverted commas there. I don't know what all this means, so we'll read it. Manchester United are in a malaise. That's one way of putting it. With Como boss Cesc Fabregas offering an option to aid the beleaguered Red Devils. So Manchester United have come to a big agreement as they look to transform their season. That's according to a report in Italy after the Red Devils fell to their 3rd defeat in the Premier League season. The pressure is now increasing on Ruben Amorim. We know all that. So what is this article saying? Cesc Fabregas in huge coup with Manchester... Huge coup, sorry, don't pronounce the P. With Manchester United struggling. Says Como flying high in Serie A and looking to target Europe under Cesc Fabregas. The Spaniard... ranked at number 21 in 442's list of the best managers in the world right now, is overseeing a revolution in Lombardy, with Italian outlet Corriere Como reporting that the club have identified Fabregas as a symbol of the project, adding that he has instilled modern play organisation and the development of talent at the stadium that's named there. And then keep going. Now the report states that United's Joshua Zirkzee is next on the radar in a potential January transfer. Zirkzee swapped Bologna for Old Trafford last summer, with 442 understanding that there was interest from Italian giants in bringing him back. During the 2025 window, but Rasmus Højlund was eventually jettisoned to Napoli, where he started brightly under Antonio Conte. I'm going to get to Zirkzee in a minute. Just on the Fabregas thing there, because that's a bit all over the place, that article, isn't it? It's sort of talking about one thing and it's talking about another. Fabregas has done a very good job at Como. I think Ronnie was mentioning this the other day, like, could you go with someone like Fabregas if you're looking for a new manager at Manchester United? Very unproven, but do you get in early? Do you go in early and go, look, he could be the next big thing, and he's got at least Premier League experience as a player, had very successful stints at both Arsenal and Chelsea. Feels a little bit premature for me going for someone like Cesc Fabregas. I feel like it'd be too much of a gamble, having had a bit of a gamble with Ruben Amorim and having, if he does go, it's going to be a failure. Do you go for someone who's not managing the Premier League and is only new at management? I know he's doing a good job at Como, but that feels like a step too far to me. What do you think? Santa Notch says, just what we need, an ex-Arsenal under Wenger player to save us. Joey Jobo says, didn't he throw pizza at Fergie? No. Nope, sorry. Stevie Out says, is the like button working? Yeah, good lad. Hit that like button. Mikey Red says, not Fabregas, FFS. Fair enough. That's pretty rounding then. No one's really interested in Cesc Fabregas, and I'm not going to sit here and defend that idea because I'm not that keen either. Let's talk about another one I'm not keen on. Gareth Southgate, Jesus, it's like an annual thing, innit? We get linked with Gareth Southgate. So this is in the evening news. It's quoted from Fabrizio Romano. It says, Fabrizio Romano has suggested United are yet to make direct contact with Gareth Southgate after he emerged as a potential replacement for Ruben Amorim. Speaking on his YouTube channel, fancy being on YouTube, says, Romano said, I'm not aware of any meeting. I'm not aware of any direct contact. I'm not aware of any negotiation. I told you yesterday that the relationship between people at INEOS is very good with Gareth Southgate, and that's why we have links. But at the moment, I'm not aware of a concrete negotiation. I'm not aware of any proposal. I'm not aware of Manchester United going around telling managers, Southgate or anyone else, like, we want you to be the new boss. So do you think we've been in contact with Southgate there? He's a bit vague there, isn't he, Romano? I'm not clear what he's actually saying. Is he saying we've been in touch with him or not? He's not aware. So basically, as far as Romano's concerned, we haven't been in touch with Gareth Southgate and there isn't any concrete links there. On Amorim, Romano said, United are still respecting their manager. Amorim is still waiting to see an improvement. That's really needed. Starting for the next game, probably, so that can be too long for sure. So the situation of Ruben Amorim remains one to watch for sure. I'm not here saying that Amorim is absolutely safe. Amorim's job is not absolutely safe in this moment because they need to perform in a different way because Man United want to see results, but it doesn't mean that Manchester United have met with Southgate or already started the process to a point. Gareth Southgate is new boss, so let's wait. Let's see what happens. But for sure, the next games will be important for Ruben Amorim. Well, I could have told you that. I think that's obvious. Yeah, so it doesn't look like there's anything in the Gareth Southgate rumours, not according to Romano anyway. I mean, things can change. I'd be very surprised if United went for Southgate. That, for me, feels like a huge gamble. He isn't a safe pair of hands because he hasn't really managed in the Premier League for, over a decade. And when he did manage in the Premier League, he got relegated. So, look, I know he had success at England. He did very well at England, Gareth Southgate. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I remember watching England when I used to care about England before fans started hanging effigies of David Beckham. And England didn't qualify for some tournaments. If you got to a semi-final or quarter-final, it was deemed a success. And then Gareth Southgate comes along, 2 finals and a semi-final and a quarter-final? Very good record in tournaments. You can't argue with that. But does that transfer to being a good manager at Manchester United? I don't think it does. I think he'd be okay, but I don't think he'd be able to go toe-to-toe with the other managers in the Premier League who are successful and who are talented and get a tune out of this side and get victories over them and sort of carry this club forward and get us challenging at the very top. I think you need someone who's got more club experience, even if it's not necessarily Premier League experience. You need someone with a lot of club experience coming into a job like Manchester United. Even the England job, for me, isn't as big as a job at Manchester United. I know it's a big job, but I don't think it's as big as the job at Manchester United. I just don't. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and the comments. I'm relieved, to be honest with you, that Gareth Southgate doesn't seem has been linked heavily with Manchester United. And according to Fabrizio Romano, there's no reason to believe that INEOS have contacted him or interested in him whatsoever. Kenny says, did he have success with England, though? Never won anything. A bit of context is needed there. Yeah, you could argue he's not won anything that's not successful. I've pushed back slightly and say getting to 2 finals with England and a semi-final of the World Cup, that is compared to everyone else other than Alf Ramsey, that's success. And even Alf Ramsey had a World Cup he didn't qualify for. So I don't think you can say that Gareth Southgate's time as England manager wasn't a success, in my opinion. And I'm not overly bothered about England, but I do think that he deserves at least some credit for what he's done compared to his peers. A lot more talented managers than Gareth Southgate, boldly talented managers. Certainly managers who've run a lot more at club level than Gareth Southgate have managed England and failed. You look at Sven-Göran Eriksson. Was it 2 quarterfinals that everyone thought was a huge success? You look at Fabio Capello. Was it the round of 16? And this Capello was one of the most successful club managers around. So I think you've got to give him some credit. However, that doesn't mean I want him as Manchester United manager, because I don't. Stevie Out says, Dyche, ? I'm not quite on the Sean Dyche bus just yet. You might be. Let me know. Matt Wick says, Southgate internationally benefited from all those players training under diverse coaching in their club football. It would all be on him here, and it obviously wouldn't work. I get that. Maurice Marshall says, if you use the metric of getting to finals as success, then Ole was definitely a success at United. I think when you look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's full seasons in charge of United, it does look successful compared to what we've seen since. What was it, 3rd and 2nd? Those were good seasons. However, obviously it started to unravel in his 3rd full season, if that makes sense. Let's talk about Oliver Glasner then. So, Glasner, right, this is so misleading. Glasner responds to United links. Crystal Palace manager Oliver Glasner is one of the bosses mentioned as potential successor to Ruben Amorim, and he picked up another win against Liverpool on Saturday. He's doing very well. 18 games unbeaten. He beat Liverpool in the Community Shield, or Charity Shield, as the older generation call it. And obviously, he beat Manchester City in the FA Cup final. He's done very, very well at Crystal Palace. Probably better than anyone expected. I don't think anyone thought Oliver Glasner was going to come in, get them winning trophies, and get them comfortable in the league. And that is what he's done, despite losing some of his better players as well. Did they lose Elise on his watch? I know they lost Eze. So he's lost players, and they've just kept going. Glasner said, I follow all the rumours, and that's all there is. Neutrally and completely relaxed. Focusing on the daily work with my players and coaches and trying to enjoy it as much as possible. So I don't really, I mean, he's addressing it in the sense that he's not saying sod all about it. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really tell us anything, does it? Yeah, he's aware of the rumours. Of course he is. He doesn't live in a cave. Like, he's not really saying one thing or another. Do I think we could get Oliver Glasner if we wanted him? Yes, I do. I do. I think if United went, right, Glasner's our guy, let's go and get him, I think you could make that happen. I think you could give Crystal Palace whatever compensation they wanted, and I think Oliver Glasner would want to come to Manchester United. I know at the moment we are struggling as a team, but we are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. We're still the biggest club in England, and we're still, no disrespect to them, but let's be honest, a far bigger club than Crystal Palace. So I wouldn't be surprised if Glasner was like, yes, I'm up for coming to Manchester United. Now, you might not be. You might go, look, I'm building something at Crystal Palace. We've just won a trophy. We've got a good sort of team unit. Everything's working for me. Manchester United are a horror show. It's where managers go to see their careers ending. I'm not doing it. That wouldn't be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But I suspect that if Manchester United went in for him, he'd be up for it. Let me know what you think. Do you fancy Oliver Glasner as a United manager? Do you think he could do the job? He plays a similar-ish formation, innit? He doesn't play three at the back. Had success, like I said, 18 games unbeaten. We can't go 2 games unbeaten, can we? Maury Boogie says, breaking, Glasner can read, and apparently does read rumours. Santosh Thapa says, no managers dare to use young academy players except Xavi. Xavi won La Liga and Copa del Rey, bringing academy players when club failed to sign new players. Kyle Gerard says, Glasner feels a bit like Thomas Frank in that he's adaptable to his squad and opponent. Only difference is Glasner has won trophies. Thomas Frank, who he's done all right at Spurs, and he had that initial good start, didn't he? Where I think he won back his first couple of games. Then was it the Bournemouth game they lost at home? Where people go, oh, hang on a minute. They were very lucky against Wolves the other night, Spurs. I think it was Palhinha with a late equaliser, and they weren't good at all, Spurs. So I'm not judging Thomas Frank on what he's done at Spurs. I think he did a very good job at Brentford. But some of the hype around him when he went to Spurs, and everyone's like, look at what he's doing at Spurs, he's amazing. Not quite there yet. I think he's been all right. I think that's safe to say. Glasner, like you said, has won trophies. Has had success at Crystal Palace. Has had more success at Crystal Palace, I think, than pretty much anyone expected. Can he come to Manchester United and do a job? Potentially. I think the next appointment, though, it has to be more than just he's better than Ruben Amorim. You can't just go, well, he's better than Ruben Amorim. He'll do a better job than Ruben Amorim. We need someone who's going to be a lot better than Ruben Amorim if we're going to replace Ruben Amorim. Because at the minute, Ruben Amorim is statistically the worst Manchester United manager ever. And he's statistically in relegation form. So I don't want someone who's going to win, I don't know, whatever it is, 10 games out of 33 instead of 9. You want someone who's going to be able to take us up quite a bit. Get us challenging near the top now. Is Glasner that guy? Possibly. I don't know. We were talking about this yesterday on the Paddock podcast, me, Joe and Ronnie. I think I said I'd probably go with Xavi if we had to replace Ruben Amorim. However, I wouldn't mind an interim option of someone like Darren Fletcher and Michael Carrick coming in just to oversee us to the end of the season. But hopefully, it is hope rather than expectation. It doesn't come to that and Ruben Amorim turns it around and wins on Saturday and beats Liverpool at Anfield and everything's rosy. I just don't see it happening. Let's talk about Zirkzee. There's an article in the MEN. It's just quoting what we were talking about there in 442 that Como claimed Man United have reached an agreement. Corriere Como claimed Manchester United have reached an agreement with Como over Zirkzee. Not getting many minutes, is he, Joshua Zirkzee? He came on the other day. He's not really, doesn't seem to be in the manager's mind much. Obviously, he sort of plays in that number 10 role. He's in 9.5, which is a load of drivel. He's a number 10, I think. And you've already got Mateus Cunha there. You've got Brian Mbumo there. Ahmad can play there. We want to see Bruno there, many of us. So where does that leave Joshua Zirkzee? It leaves him sort of stuck, doesn't it, really? He's becoming the forgotten man. And for him, World Cup year as well, he'll want to get his career going. He could go back to early where he was very successful with Bologna. And maybe get himself into Ronald Koeman's Dutch squad. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford. So this is from Fabrizio Romano. I think this was this morning. So Barca director Deco on Rashford deal with Man United. We signed Marcus on a simple loan with an option to buy, but it's not a high fee. There are no penalties if we do not sign him permanently. He's doing great. We are very happy. The final decisions come later. So Marcus Rashford, who Has done well at Barcelona so far. He got those couple of goals in the Champions League, didn't he, against Newcastle? And I think he's got an assist in his last 3, is it, La Liga games? Something like that. So he's not really been scoring in La Liga, but he has been getting assists, so goal involvements, obviously. And scoring in the Champions League. It seems like it's been a pretty successful stint for him so far. But Deco sort of not really giving too much away there, is it? He's not really saying one way or the other whether Marcus Rashford is going to end up at the new camp permanently, just that is an option for them, which we all know, and that so far it's been all right. We'll have to wait and see. Joe James John says, people have to leave United to get their career going. I mean, look, we all know that Marcus Rashford is a talented lad. I never bought into this idea that some fans had that he was no good. He's a good player. It was just whether his mentality was right at United over the last couple of seasons. He did seem to just sort of lose his enthusiasm for United. He just didn't look like someone who was enjoying playing for the club, and I think that was reflected in his performances. I'm glad Marcus Rashford has got his career going again. I want to see him do well at Barcelona. I don't really think he's got a future back at Manchester United. I think it probably is going to be a permanent move, and I think if we can use that money to spend it elsewhere and bring in some quality, then that's a positive all round. And never really bought into some of the hatred that I've seen towards Marcus Rashford. I just don't get it. Let's talk about Sam Mather. This is a player that did really well when United Academy won the FA Youth Cup, scored some important goals along the way. Fell off a little bit in terms of what was happening with him. He sort of became a bit of a grey area. It says Manchester United youngster Sam Mather will be integrated back into the club's Premier League 2 squad after his proposed move to the UAE could not be completed. So he's back in the fold. It seems he's been training with the squad, the senior squad, and he's been playing a couple of games for the under-21s. Yeah, not much to report there. It's just a bit of a shame. I don't really see him progressing at the moment, Sam Mather, and he's an exciting player, a very talented player, but obviously the step up from the under-21s to the first team is hard. Tyrell Malacia, talking about forgotten men. Andy Mitten says, Tyrell Malacia to meet Ruben Amorim today about a return to United first team group was always the plan after he didn't move. Yeah, I think he was training with Trafford FC or something. Is that what that's... Yeah, so he was training with Trafford FC. He was like ostracised. Is that the right word? Is that a bit strong? However, he was dubbed as part of this bomb squad, wasn't it? And I always felt sorry for Malacia because, okay, he went and got surgery with his own surgeon rather than the one the club wanted him to get surgery with. And it wasn't successful. So there was a bit of ag there where the club were upset with him for doing that. And obviously it didn't work out. However, I don't think he was a massive issue. Also, I think he had a family bereavement. I don't want to get this wrong, but I think was it his dad or someone passed away who was close to him. So he went through a lot during this 18-month period, Tyrell Malacia. Then he was labelled as part of this bomb squad with the likes of Jadon Sancho and Anthony and Marcus Rashford and Garnacho and these players that were surplus to requirements. And it felt a little bit harsh because it didn't feel like he was quite there in terms of being a massive problem for Ruben Amorim. Didn't get a move. It looked like he was going to get a move in the window. It didn't happen. And now he's back. It seems he's on the verge of coming back into the first team, or at least training with the first team and maybe being part of the squad. Do I think he's going to get many games for Manchester United? Probably not. However, it does seem a bit silly. There is a player we bought a few years ago who, for all intents and purposes, is okay. He's a decent player. He's not probably the level you need if you're going to sort of move the club forward. But he has had some good games for Manchester United. I remember when he came in against Liverpool, he did well at Southampton and Leicester. That initial period where he came in for Luke Shaw, it sort of gave Luke Shaw a bit of a bump, kick up the backside as well, and made him fix up and return into the squad. So look, I hope Malacia gets his career going again because it's just been a bit of a shame. Sam in the super chat says, losing becomes a habit. Replace Shaw, Maguire and Dalot. They had good periods but are part of why we panic defensively. It spreads to new players. I'd like to see Lenny Yoro starting for Manchester United, to be honest with you. Plastering with John says, Jay, all the managers we have had can't all be a problem. It's the players. It's been proven by Ralph when he said there's issue here and that needs ripped out and can't just fill cracks and that happening. Look, I know the players are an issue. I'm not disputing that. However, I just don't think it's tenable to go, right, we need to get rid of all the players. And also, some of these players are new signings as well. Some of these players have only been here a year. Some of the players have only been here a few months. So, yes, the players have to take some responsibility, but also so does the manager. And it looks like the manager is going to be the one who is jettisoned if things don't turn around sooner rather than later. I'm going to be back later on today. You're going to have Uncensored with Adam McCullough and Joe Smith. Plus, we'll also be hearing from Stephen Alson as well. So make sure, if you're not doing so already, you are hitting like, share and subscribe. And also, go and check out the merch. There's a link in the chat to Stretford Paddock merch. We've got new lines in merch, so go and check that out as well. I'm Jay Moy. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.